Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. So today I thought I would introduce myself as a reader, share a little bit about who I am, and tell you what I'm currently reading. So I am happily married. My husband is Dave. We have been married for, it will be 19 years in 2023. We live in Texas. I am the proud mother of 3 very happy and active puppies. And if you hear him in the background, one severe macaw, who is the largest of the mini macaws. I will insert a picture of said pets here. I am also responsible for the 7 baby chicks that are currently outside. They turned 6 weeks old this week. Hopefully April time frame, they should be giving us eggs. And I can stop buying eggs and get them fresh for my chickens every day. I am very much looking forward to that. I run the Protagonist Pub blog. I will link it down below. Any book I review is also always received a review on the blog. And I will always link the blog review in a video review. I have maintained the blog since 2015 timeframe. Couple year break in there when we were traveling in the RV for several years. I wasn't reading as much. Life was a little hectic. Oh, excuse me. It's not the company. I have been a reader all of my life. I know we all say that. I know we all claim to be avid readers. According to family lore, I have not always been a reader, but I got my first library card 2.5. Back in the day, you just had to sign an X to get your library card when you were very small. And I could do that no problem. So Mom took me to the library. I got my card. And she had set one rule for that first library trip where I got my card and I was on my own. I had to be able to carry all of my own books. Okay. Our library at the time, the children's section was downstairs. And it was probably 20 steps down. It was a steep incline, I remember this. And they were all marble steps. So it was quite an accomplishment at 2.5 to get down the stairs by myself. And the library was someplace we were at all the time. So all the librarians knew me. They all knew my mom. It wasn't like I was running around with strangers unaccompanied. Mom went off to find books. I went downstairs. I was happier than I can put into words. I remember that feeling. I was amongst friends and there was just books and they smelled great and they were colorful and they had pictures and words and there were chapter books and I was overjoyed. I just started pulling books off the shelf. My arms would get full and somehow I would toddle those little books up the steps and put them at the top of the steps and then go back downstairs. You don't know how many times I did this. 45 minutes, hour later. Mom's like, where's Tammy? She comes to find me. She gets to the steps. She sees the pile of books. At the top of the steps, she goes, that's odd. But doesn't think anything of it. Comes to look for me and says, finds me and says, it's time to go home. And I've got another load of books. And she's like, okay, you have to be able to carry them upstairs to check out. I'm like, okay. So I propel my little blonde self up the stairs. And I put my pile of books on the pile of books. Mom's like, Tammy, those don't belong to you. I'm like, well, but I carried them upstairs. She looks at me and she starts to laugh. She laughs to this day when she tells the story. And sure enough, the pile of books was probably as tall, if not taller than I was, which of course didn't deter me. And there was no, you can only check out so many books at a time limit from the library. And she's like, okay. So she helps me, carry the books over to the desk. And the librarians are like, oh, you found some books. I'm like, uh-huh. I very proudly hand them my card. They check out the books, they stamp them. They do the whole processing thing. And everybody is laughing, my mother says, and just shaking their head. And I am so excited. I cannot wait to get all of these books and all of these friends home. And we get home. Daddy comes home from work. They sit me down. They're like, okay, the rule has changed. I'm like, I'm confused. Why? You have to be able to carry your books to the car. Like, they're like, we can go to the library as often as you want, but you have to be able to carry your book choices to and from the car. I agree, of course, because I don't care. They just said I could go as often as I want. So that is the family lore. To this day, my self-imposed rule at the library is I can only check out as many books as I can comfortably carry to and from the car. On more than one occasion in recent memory, that has been a very heavy load of books. Don't regret it. Won't change it. But it's a good rule. So I have been reading on my own in excess of 50 years. I cannot imagine my life not being able to read. It's unfathomable. I used to think I read very quickly, and then I see how booktubers are claiming they read in excess of 200 books a year, and I'm just flabbergasted. They either must be, incredibly short novellas, or they speed read, or if I read a book, be it an audiobook or a book or Kindle, I read the book. I listen on regular speed. I read the book. I don't speed read. Last year was a bad year. I read 65 books. On average, I read 100 plus books. But it isn't the quantity of books I read, personally. It's the quality. I would much rather read quality books that are a little more dense, or, thicker, chunky books, versus a multitude of poorly written, quickly turned out, thin books that have no character development or story. It's personal preference. I do DNF books. Books have about 50 pages to draw me in and capture my attention, or set them aside and I move on to other books. Life is too short to read a bad book. It isn't necessarily that the book is bad, it's that the book doesn't work for me. My TBR is higher than Mount Everest. It grows every day. There are too many books I want to read and too little time left in life to read them all. So I have always DNF books. I will always DNF books. It may or may not be a reflection on the quality of the book, but it's certainly a reflection on me and where I am at life when I pick up said book. I am not on Goodreads. I am on Instagram. I use Library Thing. I have a blog. Social media is a little out of my comfort zone, I guess. I would rather read books than, type out a post and get a pretty picture of a book and publish it. Personal preference. I do rate books on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. I tend to have more books rated 5 stars, 4 or 5 stars, than I do 1 to 2. Simply because I DNF books. You don't end up having a lot of low ratings if you DNF books. It isn't a reflection of that I'm a 5-star hussy and everything is a 5-star read. It's the fact that I DNF books that do not capture my attention to begin with. If I give a book a 1 star, it's because I either had to read it, let's say for book club, or just something at the end irritated me and it brought down the rest of the book. 2-star reading for me is a book that had issues, but there was some sliver of a redeeming quality in the book that didn't cause me to DNF it. But by the end, the cons far outweighed the sliver of that pro. 3-star book is a book I enjoyed. However, it wasn't memorable. It won't stick with me. It just was a middle of the road, average read. Read it, move on. 4-star book is a book I very much enjoyed, will easily recommend, and sticks with me. It has memorable characters. It has memorable world building. It has a plot line that draws the reader in. It is a book that I would happily read another one of. And a 5-star rating for me is a book I couldn't put down. A book with wonderful characters, incredible world building, a plot line that is not, riddled with holes, a unique story setting, anything that makes that book stand out from other books in the same genre. Like I said, I tend to have far more 4 and 5 stars than I do anything else. I am a huge proponent of using your local library. We have a wonderful library here in town. I go about every 2 weeks. Our library no longer has overdue fines, so I regularly stop in and buy books from the Friends of the Library book sale shop that's contained within our library. I highly recommend using your local library. You pay with it with your taxes. Why not use it? It is a wonderful resource that is often overlooked today, and it shouldn't be, in my opinion. So what am I currently reading? I am currently finishing up Her Royal Spyness by Rhys Bowen. It is the first book in the series, and it is the first one of hers I have read, I believe. I'm enjoying it. I'm about a third of the way through. I will probably finish this today or tomorrow. Easy. And then I am reading, as you all know, Abigail Adams by Woody Holton. I'm hoping to get another 50 to 100 pages read this weekend. If I get 100 pages read, that would leave me 100 more pages to go before the end of the month. Something I can easily do on most books. Next up from my personal library is Death on Windmill Way by Carrie Doyle. This 4-book series was sent to me by the wonderful Emily over at the Poison Pen Press this last summer, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I'm very sorry, Emily. I will be getting to them. And I will read this one this month. And I have a slew of books on my Kindle that are calling my name. I don't have a particular one I currently queued up to read. I just finished Time Rep by Peter Ward. It will be in my wrap-up next week. I enjoyed it immensely. And that is a little bit about me. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If I've mentioned a particular YouTuber or website, I will link them down below. And please like and subscribe to this video. And I look forward to seeing you here next time in the pub.